Hello there, welcome to Talking Balearics with me, Martin Makepeace, here in Ibiza.
And me, Richie Pryor, in Menorca. In Menorca? No, sorry, in Mallorca.
Should we do that again? Or
Well, I've got Menorca on the brain for two reasons, actually. One is because my son is playing football in Menorca on Saturday.
Yeah.
But it was the venue for the Mallorca Balearic, also the Balearic Cup, I think.
Yeah, no, I spent the day there Saturday. Very nice place, Rich.
Anything you want to talk about with the Balearic Cup, or you want to
No. Should we move straight on, shall we? Or no, listen.
You've been very quiet, Mark. You've been very quiet.
Congratulations to Mallorca. They were literally too good for the rest of us. They were a superb performance led by Ben Vickers, Wesley Walker and the team. So if they're listening today, congratulations, fully deserved winners. And it hurts a lot to say that, Rich. It does, because they're our main rivals. There really is no love lost between Ibiza and Mallorca, but you sometimes have to clap the hands and say the best team won.
Yeah, I heard you weren't happy, Mark. You know, I've got people out there in the field. You know what I mean? That no.
Yeah, I wasn't my finest hour, I've got to tell you. But isn't that what sport's all about? It's about passion, isn't it? It's about competitive passion.
Exactly.
And I've got to say, I mean, we are talking Balearics, and I've got to say, Rich, that I mean, I always forget how beautiful Menorca is, and when I go there, it's an absolutely wonderful place. I mean, it's so different. It's so different to Ibiza. I can't tell you how different it is. Getting on a plane in Ibiza and getting off a plane in Menorca, it's just two different worlds.
Yeah, it is. It's, I find it a little bit like going back to Mallorca sort of 20, 25 years ago, to be honest with you, when you visit. It's so green as well. It reminds me of the UK very much as well. Very flat. There's just literally one mountain right in the middle, isn't there? And I've been told that the cricket field is beautiful. Is like an old English cricket pitch?
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is. It's such a great setup over there as well. I mean, it's a beautiful place. But the irony is that when I was younger, I didn't get Menorca at all, because you're young and stupid, aren't you? But the older I get, the more I like it. There you go.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Definitely.
So this is Talking Balearics. This is Talking Balearics, Richie. I have got a few things for you today, right? I've just got a little bit of information about rental prices and the yin and the yang of Ibiza. I've got a little bit about football clubs. Obviously, me and you, big, massive football fans, and the clubs have almost shut up shop for the summer. So we've started to get the football teams over, and I've got a nice little story, because I saw two football teams this week from contrasting ends of the spectrum, which
they're on the beach, Mark, as they say.
They're on the beach, yeah. And also, I've got a little bit of a fun article about a really good competition where Ibiza came out on top yet again, Richie, yet again.
Well done to Ibiza. I've got for you the Which magazine's report on over tourism, which is an interesting report, actually, which I can share with you, and also the Spanish government putting forward plans, or looks like it's going to go through, of reducing the working week, Mark.
Yeah, the Hotel Association asking for more money as well, so maybe we'll touch on that. So I'm just going to start off with, we often go about rental prices, don't we, Rich? And we've got this real problem. In fact, I've got some Norwegian friends here, believe it or not, this week, and I was just trying to explain to them that bottom line is people can't afford to live in the Balearics anymore because it's so expensive, and the kind of the difference between what you get paid and what you have to spend is just getting ridiculous now, because average wage is probably about €2,000 a month, I would say, in Ibiza, and you can't get a room for less than 1,000 now as well. So, but it's just been reported this week. It changes monthly, because I remember having this conversation a while back saying that San Antonio was the most expensive place to rent an apartment on the island, but it's now Santa Eulalia. But they're not just the island; it's the most expensive place in the whole of Spain to rent an apartment. It's coming out over €4,000 per calendar month to rent an apartment in Santa Eulalia. That creates a whole debate in itself, doesn't it, Rich, really? Because, we can't house workers anymore. It's as simple as that.
And that $4,000 a month, Mark, what does that get you?
It will get you like a 2-stroke, 3-bedroom apartment, really.
Okay.
Santa Eulalia is on the east coast of the island of Ibiza, and it's a really smart place. And it's no surprise it's had a PP government. I don't want to bring too many politics into it, but it's had a PP government for forever, and they really take care in the appearance of the municipality. It's just a really nice place, Rich. I don't know if you've been there, but it's just a lovely place. It's just been reflected in the rental prices.
Yeah, I think in here in Mallorca, we look at a little bit out of the loop slightly, but I know last year we were looking around about between €400 and €500 per room per month. That was the average that you should pay while you were here. Whether that's still the same now, I don't know. It might well have gone up, but that was the average. So
I think it's gone up a little bit. I mean, but we're not talking the most expensive in the Balearics, Rich. This is the point I'm trying to make. It's the most expensive in Spain. Right?
Yeah.
More expensive than Barcelona, more expensive than Madrid, more expensive than San Sebastian, more expensive than all these major places. It's not sustainable, Richie. And the other thing I want to bring in is that I read a really good article in the paper yesterday from a guy who's had an interview who lives in one of these how do you say it in Spanish? Like the shanty towns, right? Mm-hmm. In Ibiza, we've got these big shanty towns that have risen up from.
I saw one actually when I was coming back from the football match a few weeks ago. I saw one, and close to the airport it was.
Yeah, and it smacks you in the face, doesn't it?
Mm.
It really does, there was a little interview, and he just basically said, Rich, he said, listen, if doctors and nurses can't find anywhere to live, how can we do it? And they're earning €2,000 a month. They are sending money back to their family. Now that's another debate as well, whether the money goes out of the Balearics, but that's what countries do, and the developing countries have to send their money back to their families. And he said, basically, if you come over and you rent a room, you can't afford to look after yourself or the family. So, it really is a strange time, Rich, where we are being, normal people are being squeezed out of living in the Balearics. And the thing is, we touched on it. I think I blogged about it as well not so long ago, is that I can't see any solution anytime soon.
Well, there was a report in the Mallorca Daily Bulletin the other day that in the first quarter of 2025 that foreign buyer sales have fell by about 3%. I don't know if you're seeing that in Ibiza, because I know that's part of what you do, but basically because of price. That's the reason that foreign buyers weren't paying. So I don't know if that's the case where you are. I don't know. Once again, I don't know if that's the case here, but that's what's been reported.
Well, funny enough, the last few sales that we've had over here have been to British people, which is quite odd, really, because after Brexit, it's more Dutch and Germans. But I think the big picture is that the prices go up. For instance, we sold a 2-bedroom apartment this week around €400,000. 10 years ago, that was probably €200,000. So you're getting a 100% rise a decade. So if that carries on, which is unlikely, in 10 years' time it'll be 800,000. So and who can afford? The kids can't afford it. The teenagers can't afford it. You've got 2 boys. I've got 2 boys. I mean, where are they going to find a house on the island from, Rich? Unless you give them one of your mansions. That is.
They're waiting for me to pop off, Mark. That's you know what I mean. That's what's happening. Yeah, I don't think they'll move out.
So it's a scary times, and as I say, and the same papers reporting the same 2 things on the same day, and it just shows you the haves and the haves not on the island as well. So just interesting times, Rich.
So let's talk about the Spanish Working Week, shall we? The government, which is obviously the PSOE government in coalition with quite a few of the smaller parties, political parties. Thank you. Have come up with a plan to reduce the working week from 40 hours to 37 and a half working hours. They're saying that it will improve workers' rights. It will improve their output, what they do, and it will just sort of give them a generally a better working atmosphere. I, for one, don't agree with it. To knock 2.5 hours off of someone's working week, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. But when you actually tell them they're actually going to get the same pay for reducing those hours, which is what the government have said, then you, as an employer, you look at it the opposite way. You're thinking, well, how's that going to work? A lot of companies are complaining they can't find enough skilled workers. And they're also complaining that once they find those skilled workers, there's not enough of them to go around to employ them for the amount of hours that they actually need them for. You know what I mean? So, which means basically that employers are going to, if they want to sort of, get the best out of what they can, particularly in the summer months, which we know a lot of businesses do here, then you're going to have to employ more people. That's the only way you could do it. That's more cost, etc. So I personally don't agree with it. I don't know what you think, but it's, for me, particularly, listen, maybe I understand it on the mainland where sort of other industries are larger than tourism, but tourism here is 80-90% of our GDP, and it's very, very important. And tourism, who in reality works 40 hours in tourism? Nobody does. We all know that.
No,
So
we work a lot longer hours than that. I think
yeah,
the bottom line is, Rich, it's too heavily tilted in the favour of the employee. Yeah, and this is, I mean, in my other guys, I do a bit of accountancy for a couple of businesses over here and deal with these issues, and it's so heavily stacked in favour. You know, the company has to pay the seguros, which is the social security, which is about 40% of the salary, holiday pay, lots of entitlements there, which is all good and well. And listen, workers need to be protected as well, but it's too heavily stacked in favour of the employee, and you can't find them when you can find them. You have to pay them more. Now they're going to work less. I don't like it, Rich. It stinks to me. It stinks of a government who are just trying to look for ways to get more votes from their core audience. So, 40 hours a week is tried and tested. It works in Spain, and I think any kind of moves to reduce that is probably not the best idea in my opinion.
it won't be surprised to know that the unions are on board, of course.
Funny that.
For two reasons. One, because obviously we know that they support this government. And two, is obviously reducing workers' hours but still getting the same amount of pay is obviously a very favourable argument to put up with, isn't it? So,
yeah, and
I don't know.
listen, you've got to be fair, and I don't think it's fair, and that's the thing. The whole system in Spain isn't fair, and it's going in the wrong direction, if anything. I mean, on top of that as well, I just noticed this week that the syndicates, you talk about syndicates, which is unions in English, they're asking for a near 20% pay rise for their hotel workers. So you're going to have less hours. You're asking for 20% more. We can't find the workers. It's a real situation where I think everyone's pulling in different directions, aren't they?
Well, it did say on the front page of the El Temoro this morning that the unions and the hoteliers don't look like they're going to come to agreements in at least June, if they do come to an agreement. You know what I mean? So, which is not good for an island such as islands such as ourselves.
But you know what worries me always, Rich, is that the people who are marginalised out of it all are the tourists. Yeah, because you're getting substandard service, which I've written about many a times, because we can't get good service because you can't get good people. The tourists just become the commodity that everyone forgets about, and they should be the first on the list, not the last on the list, because we're like a stuck record, me and you, aren't we? We're talking about tourists and the importance to our islands, but that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Football, Rich.
Football?
Yeah, we've got a few clubs celebrating in Ibiza now. It's traditional that at the end of every season, the big clubs usually charter a flight, come over to Ibiza for one night. Manchester City did it when they won the European Champions League 2 years ago, and the latest super club to do it did you see it?
I did actually use I did actually read it somewhere else, but it was Bayern Munich.
It was Bayern Munich, Rich, and it was all the top players as well. Muller, Kimmich. Harry Kane was there as well with his big smiley face. He was at Casamacca, which is part of the Mambo group. So they went there for dinner. They went to Pacha afterwards as well. They were dancing in Pacha, and they looked like having a great time. I see there was a little bit of blowback on it as well, because obviously their lead hasn't finished yet, have they? They've got to play again this weekend. So they've literally come away for 2 days. But I mean, why not? It's great publicity for the island. It's great for the players to kick back. I know they get paid ridiculous amounts of money, but I love those pictures of Harry Kane with his big smiling face. I'm a big Harry Kane fan, so it was great. So it's good to see the Bayern Munich team in Ibiza. And then on the other side, I was on Friday. I had a little trip to O Beach, my normal Friday day out, a few drinks, and before meeting up with my old boys. And there was a real kerfuffle in a good way. People were just going mad in a great way, spraying champagne everywhere, dancing. It was great to see, but you can spot a football team a mile away, can't you? And I was like, who are they? And it was Doncaster Rovers, who were just having a great time. And I think their manager, I think is it McCann, I think an old Premier player, and he was there. I think the chairman was there as well. And it was just great to see that all these young lads, because they are young, by the way, Rich. You know, when you see them up close and personal, we think we can still cut it at that level, but trust me, we can't.
Well, actually, weirdly enough, one of the players, a boy called Charlie Crew, he's on loan at Doncaster Rovers from Leeds United.
Right.
And he did some pre-season training here in Mallorca last year. So I met him, and my son Jude met him as well. So yeah. Well, listen, they've got to let their hair down. If they've got themselves promotion, you've got to let your hair down somewhere. I see Arnie Slot was there as well, Mark.
Yeah, Arnie Slot. So he was. Yeah, funny enough, I did actually see him briefly yesterday, but he was causing a real commotion in a good way, and he was at O Beach, of course, in San Antonio, and they did a great thing. They got him up on the DJ box. They played "We Are the Champions." I think I sent you the video today, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
It was just to see it. And I got to tell you, Rich, he's a big unit. He's a big unit. You don't realise, but he's big, he's strong, he's got to be about 6'3", 6'4", and he's like, wow. So yeah, it's good to see all the footballers, and it's really good publicity for the islands, Rich, isn't it? I mean, the bottom line is we're running a tourist destination, so seeing all these famous footballers in these nice clubs, and it doesn't do any harm, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's all good publicity. So listen, Mark, Zante, Mallorca and Paris are among the European destinations with a claim to be the most affected by over-tourism, according to a Which magazine report. The EC's definition of definition. I
think you'll find that's definitions. Rich.
Yeah, of tourism can be defined by three measures. The first measure is the number of tourists per resident, known as tourism pressure, and it calculates how many nights tourists spend in a region compared with the number of residents. For example, if 100 tourists spend 5 nights in a resort with 100 residents, the pressure figure would be 5 overnight stays to every 1 resident. So Zante wins that prize.
Yeah.
There are only 40,000 people that actually live in Zante, but there were 6 million overnight stays in Zante in 2023, which means 150 overnight stays for every person who lives there. And then the other measure where Mallorca came out is the most overnight stays overall. This makes Mallorca the most visited place in Europe by holidaymakers, with over 51 million overnight stays in 2023. The island's population is just under 1 million. It is the imbalance between the number of tourists and residents that arguably provides the best gauge of just how overrun with tourists a destination has become.
What do you make of that, Rich? I mean, I'm not really buying it, because I don't look at Mallorca as over touristed, if that's even a word. Do you? I mean, what's the local feedback on that?
Well, no, listen, I think it is. I think we have a problem with over tourism in a way that when you look at any one day, because obviously it's difficult to sort of gauge exactly how many people are in resorts or whatever at any one particular time. When you think about Mallorca, don't forget Mallorca is a hub for lots of different airlines. So you've got people transiting between airlines, but not actually going out of the airport, but they are coming through the airport, if that makes sense. Then you've got the cruise ships on the other hand. So they're in for some for 24 hours, some not for 24 hours, some for less, some for 12 hours. So you get them in as well. Do you know what I mean? So, and then you've got obviously the tourists on top of that. And then you've got the resident population on top of that. And I've said it 1,000 times. There are too many residents. Yeah. Immigration has become a problem in Mallorca. I don't know if it's the same in Ibiza, but immigration is part of the problem. And when you can't, obviously, as you correctly said earlier, if you can't house the doctors, the nurses, the police, the firemen, etc., then there is a problem. And I'm afraid then something's going to need to be done about immigration. I know this is a hot topic in the UK right now. And I know the government in the UK, did a big publish on it yesterday about immigration. And I think it's going to have to happen in some resorts that, you're going to have to look at immigration and not be so sort of have your doors so open to migrants, and of which we are ones, Mark, if you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but we're different types of migrants. I mean, you've got to say, listen, you've got the migrants living in the shanty towns who are sending money over to their families, and you've got the migrants who are trying to make a life over there and buying houses and jobs. So there are different levels of migrants.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the overall sentiment is correct, Rich. I'll take that. What I would say, Rich, is we're a victim of our own success. We've got an amazing lifestyle, and people want a part of it. Now, going back to the shanty towns, which I said before, what's the motivation for these people to live in tents when they could get jobs in other parts of Spain? The motivation is they can live relatively well even in a tent in Ibiza and send more money back home to their to their families. So, we're kind of creating the situation ourselves by sticking our head in the sands. And my worry is, as we've seen the UK, I mean, and the Europe now with what's happening, we're going far right, aren't we? That's the thing. For the whole of Europe's going far right, which is actually a logical way it's going to go, because something there's got to be a nuclear option soon, because as we've seen, we've got shanty towns in places in Ibiza which I never thought I'd see. We've got migrants turning up on the beach every day over here now, which 2 years ago you probably have one in a blue moon. Now you're getting them most days with young kids and families in there, and the majority of men. So it's a mad time, Rich, and I haven't got a solution for it, but something needs to be done.
No, I agree totally. And, it's part of that report. And, I think we'll have to look at it quite seriously, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm going to go to, because I've got some Norwegian friends over this week. So I'm going to go to the Jan Mayen, the Norwegian volcanic island that they've reported, because that's got 0 tourists per square kilometre. There you go. So that's the lowest. And then is it I'm going to get this wrong now. Tela Orman in Romania has got 1.21 tourists per square kilometre as well. So Norway and Romania are the places to go, I think, at the moment.
Well, and also, but if you think about it logically, I mean, well, not logically, but if you think about it for us here, the Balearics, don't forget we've got the island of Cabrera that nobody actually lives on. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can do a day visit to Cabrera, of course, but nobody actually lives there. So there is a possibility of, obviously, I'm not purporting to say that, let's get rid of everybody, but, there is a possibility. And I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, whereas the island's population has grown, and particularly New Yorkers, has grown by about 40% in the last 20 years.
Absolutely. I think we're the same. Interesting on that list, the which report that you sent over to me this morning, reading through it, that third and fourth on the list is Fuerteventura and Lanzarote. Now, we've often talked about the synergy between the Canary Islands and the Balearic Islands, and I know it's slightly different because the Canaries are genuine 12 months a year, where we're probably more 6 or 7 months a year, but just shows you why the islands, the Spanish islands, are getting so much blowback from locals, because the over tourism, it's quite evident looking at these numbers, and which are usually quite reliable source.
Yeah, no, exactly. And also, I mean, look, I've championed the fact that we probably need to open more months. I'm not asking for, what I'm asking is the spread to be better over the course of the 12 months, rather than trying to ram it all into June, July, August, September. That's my point. And, I think there needs to be tax breaks. There needs to be, opportunities for businesses to stay open in the winter months. It does happen in Benidorm, and I get this thrown back at me all the time. Yeah, but Benidorm's different. It's not different. We just need to sort of, change we've both said it, haven't we? We need to change the way that we are marketing as a destination, try and look at winter tourism, try and bring something new to the islands and everything else. And it could work, but it's, it just needs someone to sort of, really think outside the box and just go, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try this and let's see what happens. And I think it can be done. It's just the problem is too many people are set in their ways and don't want to, don't want to work for 6 months of the year.
There's a lot of vested interest there as well, Rich. And also, I wrote about Benidorm last year, and what I would say about Benidorm, it knows its market and it knows what it is, and it plays to its strengths. Where sometimes I think in the Balearics, we don't know what we are. We don't play to our strengths because there's so many different groups with vested interests that they just clash against each other. And
I agree.
Here in San Antonio, it's probably the maddest place in the world because we just can't agree on anything at all. Nothing at all. Richie, you like a sandwich, don't you, Rich?
You trying to cast dispersions here, Martin?
Well,
I love a sandwich.
Anybody who knows Richie Pryor, I'll post a picture of him back in the 90s when he was a tall, handsome, skinny, long-haired Adonis. And if you look at him these days, he's had a few sandwiches, let's face it, So,
all right, Mark. Harsh but fair.
Harsh but fair. No, I've got to say, I love this. The final story of me today is that Ibiza has won. We have to take the wins, the small wins and the big wins. It won the best sandwich in Spain competition.
Really?
Yeah, the best sandwich in Spain. And I've got to say, Rich, I love a sandwich. I live on sandwiches. I really do.
I'm the same, Mark. I am the same. Bread is my total downfall. Bread and crisps.
Oh,
my total downfall.
Listen, I can survive on sandwiches all day, and I absolutely love them. So I'm going to go over this week. I'm going to try it and report next week. So a place called Kane Gourmet, which is in Ibiza town, has won a surf and turf sandwich. Yeah, and I think it's okay. Now you ready for this, mate? Ready for these ingredients? Have you had your breakfast? Because I think you might start gurgling your belly very shortly. Right? Okay, you ready? Well, they call it Mari Tierra, which is obviously surf and turf in Spanish. Yeah. And the gourmet sandwich includes slow-cooked roast beef, tuna sauce inspired by vitello tonato, I'm going to get this wrong, Parmigiano Reggiano, so the Parma cheese, semi-dried cherry tomatoes, rocket, and caper powder. There you go, mate.
Tuna and beef together. I'm not quite sure if that's a good mix, is it?
Surfing. Well, it's won the competition, Rich. I mean, who am I to say? But
the competition where was this competition?
This was I'll listen. I think it's been reported in the press, so I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it from a good source anyway. But it says this is what it says on it. It says it breaks the boundaries and elevates tradition. There you go, mate.
Marvelous.
That's it. I'm all in, mate. I'm going to try it. I'm going to hunt it down this week, and I'm going to send one over to you over there in Mallorca.
Listen, give me a roast beef and horseradish from Marks and Spencer's any day, Mark, and I'm happy.
I've got to say as well, Menorca Cricket Club on Saturday, I had a roast beef and horseradish boccata, and it was absolutely delicious as well. So there you go, a little shout out.
Well, when I was in Madrid, actually, when we went to Madrid, we were recommended to eat a calamari bocadillo, actually, because that's the big. That's the big thing there, and we spoke to the taxi driver. He said, "Yeah." He said, "Where are you going?" We said, well, "He's taking us to the Plaza Mayor," and he said, "Every restaurant will serve you a boccata de calamari." And which, for everybody out there, that's a squid, basically a squid in batter sandwich, basically, or in a like a French piece of French bread, which is basically what it was. We did have them actually. I wasn't over enamored.
I've got to say, I'm not sure that's my bag, mate. To be fair,
I wasn't over enamored.
Roast beef, or another one is kind of a chicken roast, like a pechuga de pollo. What's that? Like a chicken breast with all the trimmings. You know, the salad, tomatoes, and all that stuff, and a bit of mayonnaise. I love that.
Yeah, see, I'm not a mayonnaise man, and I don't like BLTs either. But if you give me either an egg mayonnaise, lovely, yes, or actually a prawn cocktail sandwich, yes, I can eat in the prawn cocktail areas as well. Not that Richard, I'm to go there.
I'm going to set you a challenge, mate. I want you to go and try all the sandwiches in Mallorca and report back.
Fine by me, no problem at all.
Challenge of the week.
Okay, I'll see you next week. No
Fantastic,
problem. I'll send you pictures.
Fantastic, mate.
I just want to quickly say that my son's team, or my son's sort of second team, because he plays for two teams, managed to avoid relegation with a great win at the weekend, which is brilliant, particularly for my son's sort of future in football. It's a great thing, and he may well be making his debut this weekend in Menorca. We don't know yet, but that's what might be happening. So flights are booked to Menorca on Saturday to go and watch him hopefully play or make his debut for San Francisco against Udi Mahon.
Fantastic. Listen, good luck to the young lad. We follow him. Obviously, we follow him very closely on social media. So good luck to San Francisco and have a great time in Menorca.
Thanks,
a beautiful Balearic Island, Menorca. There you go.
So I'll send Simon your regards as well, shall I?
Yeah. Please do. Yeah, please do.
I said, Simon, we'll have to get him on one day to talk Menorca as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Mark. Take care.
Cheers, Rich.
See you soon.
Make me dance.